lost my glove.
I don't think we need them right now, not in this sun. It's really nice.
What would you like to talk about?
Well, I figured we would just go over 2022 projects because we have a lot on our list of things to do, and I think that ever since we came here, we start one project and it rolls into another one that we didn't expect. And a great example of that, and one of the ones that I have on our list, which is like a big one for us, is the Meadow House. But now we all of a sudden, or you mainly, figuring out that we have to renovate the barn, or we could renovate the barn. I want to share a little bit why.
Yeah, it's just one thing leads to the other.
I know.
It's all related to each other, so then you start on everything at the same time, which is difficult because you can't. But yeah, I started working on the barn because might as well. We have the time right now, and part of making the Meadow House work has to do with the barn because we're storing the pressure tank in the barn because they both share the water from the well. So the pressure tank's really big, and that's why it's better to put that in the barn because there's lots of space there.
Yeah,
but that means it needs to be insulated, so then we might start working on the workshop. And we also want to make some cabinets, and I'm probably gonna figure out how to do that myself. So then.
Yeah, so let's step back. So
that's a lot.
There is a pressure tank in the Meadow House, and the Meadow House is not huge. It's like 600 square feet, and the pressure tank took up a lot of space in the bathroom. So we found out that that we could actually move it to the barn if we just insulate a section of the barn. But that section that we found, this was one of the things that really surprised us, is that the barn is actually plumbed. So we could actually have a toilet and a sink there. We could have a shower if we wanted to. And so we thought, oh, okay, well, why don't we move the pressure tank to the barn? Mm-hmm. We'll insulate that. And then Sandra's like, well, this was like kind of the start of a wood shop or a workshop. Why don't we just turn it into a wood shop? We're having trouble actually finding somebody who will actually make cabinets, and Sandra got really excited about making cabinetry. So we figured, okay, while we wait for all this product coming in, because there's such supply chain delays
yeah,
that we could actually, do all of this.
And cabinets is like it's a nice way to get into woodworking.
It's a nice entry point.
And it's a lot of the cabinet makers are really busy in this area, and the prices have gone up for the materials. So like, and we have a lot of other cabinet related things to make on this property. So if we learn how to do it, might be beneficial to us.
That's exactly right. So we didn't intend to actually do like a wood shop or a barn restoration or renovation, but it just kind of came with the Meadow Home renovation. So those are two major projects. But then I kept on joking with you because I was like, we keep on punting this common house here.
This needs to be renovating as well.
Yeah.
But the biggest part of this is the windows, because
right.
The windows are so bad. Like when I close the door, I just see there's still a gap between the door and the frame.
It was very cold
and
this
it's just
winter.
like a lot of cold air that comes in. And windows are the first step for this house, which is tricky to figure out. But I think we've gotten there yesterday, and we're about to put in an order, and then it's going to take like 18 weeks for them to show up.
Right.
And then they still have to be replaced, which with this much windows, it's going to take a while for, part of the siding might have to come off. So it's going to be a big project.
But this does tie back into the barn renovation area and the wood shop, because we're going to not toss these windows, but we're actually going to reuse them in the barn.
That's true. So as I'm planning, and this is another part why all these things happen kind of at the same time, is because as I'm planning to renovate this, obviously there's a lot of trash that comes with renovation and new construction. Yeah. And what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out how to use as much of that trash as possible and reuse it somewhere else. So for example, the windows from this house are all going to be used in the big barn because they're big windows, they'll fit a big barn. And it's great to have some natural light in your workshop.
Absolutely.
A lot of workshops are in dark garages and they have the lights, and it's just nice to have natural light, and we have the opportunity to do that. The windows that are going, the vinyl windows from the Meadow House are probably going to be reused in the chicken coop and in this workshop here. So I'm just trying to figure out where all the materials go. Plus, there was a lot of wood in that barn already
Yeah.
from the existing structure. And I almost barely have to order like any 2x4s or 2x6s to construct the new walls, because a lot of that is already there and I'm able to recycle it. So what I'm doing is, even with the plywood that's on the walls, I'm taking the plywood off, and then I'm planning to use that on the outside of the building to attach my water resistive barrier to on the final design of it, so that, you know, keeps water out. So then I don't have to buy any plywood, which is about $100 a
Expensive.
sheet right now.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that's great news, because, I mean, doing 3 renovations simultaneously seems like maddening. But like you said, it's like happening in spurts and not all at once, really. You know, not all within the same time frame. It's not like we have a team on the Meadow House, a team on the barn, and a team on the common house all at once. No, it's like we're just cycling between them. And what's also really good is that, you know, it will cost something. And we've all talked about that. We sat down, we're like, okay, what can we budget for each of these? But the benefit is that, you know, you're doing a good majority of the work. I mean, I helped here and there, but you're really taking the lead on it.
well, you're more in charge of the garden part.
I am. The landscaping is definitely more a part, but like we have some local contractors here that are working with you, which is great, side by side. And then the reuse of the materials, like we don't want to toss these windows away. We can use them. And the thing that, like, you know, we didn't even really use that big barn that the first year we got here. We didn't even know what we could use it for. And it's such a shame when something doesn't get used on the land. So I'm really happy that there is an opportunity to get more use out of it and to get a wood shop there. I mean, it's going to benefit the whole place. So I like that. But those are 3 big construction renovation projects, but that's not all. That's not all I think that we want to do. Another big thing, and we're going to have our friend Sean here to kind of pressure test some ideas with, but we had some water drainage issues because of the amount of rain we had. I mean, the year that we got here, it was a drought, so we couldn't see where the water was flowing because it really wasn't flowing. But this year, it was heavy, heavy rains, and we just had sheets of rain going down on our land. It didn't help that we dug kind of a illegitimate canal when we were laying the internet, and then also that we, you know, had to grade the entire land and remove some of the vegetation on it to restore the meadow area. But driveway repair and water drainage is a huge one that we're going to be doing some earth moving with.
Yeah, this is a really wet area, and there's a lot of rain sometimes. And even all this snow at some point will melt, and it creates huge puddles everywhere. So we need to think about drainage on this land and making sure that the water doesn't pull up. You know, no one likes to have standing water in their garden, because that also breeds mosquitoes, and you know, it's just
it anoxifies the soil, so the roots can't get any air. It's not
driveway,
good.
like it destroys our driveway. If the water goes down the driveway into the grooves where the tires go in, then it just carves it out. And we had this really heavy rain last fall that really did a lot of damage in a short period of time. And then once that damage starts, more water gets down there, and it just eventually just carves the whole driveway out. So we need to figure out a proper way to make the water go next to the road and into the ditch, and then that should take care of the water issue.
Yeah, and it's almost there. I mean, part of this land was thought through in the sense that the water does kind of zigzag, you know, down to before it gets to any of the drainage areas. But this land right here, kind of just at the foot of where we're sitting, is very flat, and it doesn't have that much of a slope, so it kind of has a tendency to sit there. We have a hard compaction layer in our soil, and we found out that our soil was at the bottom of that 11-foot pond behind here, so we have a lot more clay. So that kind of lends itself towards the compaction layer.
Yeah, so to give more clarity, in order to make the pond, they took all the dirt and they dumped it on this spot right here and created a hill.
Yeah.
So we have all this clay soil.
Yeah, so it's not our true topsoil. That being said, if you did general soil analysis of this area, we actually do have a native topsoil that has hard compaction layer, that has more clay, and that doesn't perk very well. So we just naturally are in an area that retains a lot of water, even despite the fact that the top of this hill is to the bottom of that pond at some point. So Then related to that is doing some stone work. So I have the front stone walkway, which we started to carve out. And we've seen actually where the water settles as well. So we'll have to think about something along those lines. But creating a really beautiful walkway and walk path through here that we started on. And then we got a great gazebo that we would like to start with, like a little circular vegetable garden that will be in kind of the center of where all the living spaces are. So that's something that would be really lovely if we could get to. We just don't know.
If we could put that up, that would be great.
Yeah.
But it requires leveling up that old garden area there.
That's right. So there's going to be some.
So there's a stable platform for the gazebo to sit on.
Stable platform for the gazebo.
Plus your stone
and the stone wall. Yeah. And then one of the things that, again, kind of all wrapped in and tied together is the finishing of the interior of the chicken coop. Now, even though I don't have any plans
High priority
to get chickens right away because I'm not here full time, we are going to do some clay work on the walls. That's the ice melting. We just happen to be doing clay in the Meadow house, so we thought we'd kind of wrap that all together. And we
Yeah,
could
that's
practice
another way
in the
to
chicken
save
coop.
money is to combine projects. If we know we want clay on the wall in the chicken coop, even though there's no chickens in there yet, might as well throw it in there, buy it all at the same time, get it all done at the same time,
Yeah.
and then
And because we're going
Makes it
to
easier.
all be new to, plastering with clay, we figured we could mess up a
we
little.
could start there.
We could start in the chicken coop a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect before we actually get into the Meadow home.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a practice space.
Indeed. Yeah.
Be ridiculous to, some people might say it's ridiculous to put clay on the wall in a chicken coop, but then it's like, but it doesn't make sort of sense if you're using it to practice on, and then
Yeah.
now you know how to do it, and now you can do it on the inside of your home.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
okay, justifies it a little bit.
So that's what I have for the construction and renovation, which is a lot. But that I feel like that's not all the projects that we want to do. And again, I feel like, okay, let's shoot for the stars, and even if we don't get halfway there, it's totally fine. But this is kind of more in my camp of the landscape and gardening. The first thing is that interstitial land management and planting. So that's the area that really is between the meadow and between the forest and the agroforestry area that we already toured. But we thought we had no more snow coming. We're obviously surrounded by snow right now, and we're getting like a big snow this weekend as well. And what we like about that is it really flattens.
Yeah, it really compacts everything down so that once the snow melts and it's gone, you get this really great overview of the land. You could see immediately where all the trees are, without all the grass being in the way and the small shrubs. So it gives us a good opportunity to clean everything up, spring cleaning, I guess.
Spring cleaning.
And then from there, we start like fresh, make sure you plant things where you want to plant them.
Yeah.
And then let the grass kind of come in. But then we keep on top of mowing it this time. Because last time we didn't do that for this area, the interstitial area, and it just got kind of out of control. And then
It
you
did.
don't really know if you can go in there with a mower anymore because there might be a pallet in there.
Yeah.
You don't want to drive over that with a mower.
Yeah, exactly. So once
So
everything
it's the once in a year opportunity to do this.
melts and compacts, we could pull anything out that doesn't need to be there. We could cut any of those Norway spruce that we have there that need to come out. And we could start planting and planting. So I've started to place some early orders for some of the plants that I'd like to actually see in there. But we will need some, I think, heavier equipment to actually plant what we're planning on, because that area was also stone, because it used to be where the first old nursery was.
Yeah, I think they did some irrigation work in there to
Yeah.
try to drain it towards the road to
Yeah.
let the water get out.
Then finish seeding the meadow. I mean, we just didn't finish it because there was a seed shortage. There's a shortage of everything, supplies, seeds. So I think we'll do some seed planting in the spring, and we'll do the final planting in the fall. I mean, that meadow is a long-term project. Again, we're not going to really see the results of it for probably at least 3 years, because most meadow seeds, they'll put their energy in their roots before you actually see shoots. So I am curious what's going to be popping up.
Yeah, it will be cool.
in
It will be
spring and summer.
something that
Yeah.
comes up.
Maybe not everything that we
Even
want.
goldenrod is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, ideally there's some other stuff in there.
Ideally, we'll see.
And
Fingers
hopefully it will
crossed.
get better every year.
The other thing that we started on last year, but we didn't get a chance to finish, is that when we removed the sod in the front area to kind of even out the land, we used that sod to berm up the back of the memorial garden. And that's an area that could be planted. That's not really high on my list. That could be something that maybe happens in the fall or not at all. And then we just wait on it until another year. Landscaping the Meadow Home, I think, will happen and can happen simultaneously. While you and Walt maybe are working on the barn and the Meadow Home, I can maybe start doing some landscape planning. And there's some barberry down there that I'm dying to rip out and cut out because I don't want any birds like building a nest in there. I do want to get that out of the landscape because I do see that some of it is invading into the forest here and there, and I don't want to start this multiplicative effect where all of a sudden we have like a ton of barberry and after we just cleaned out all this multiflora rose and honeysuckle. So that's a big one. And I have some plans.
Plants or plans?
Plans for plants down there.
I hear a rock garden talking the other day. Were you talking about rock
gardens? I love that
gardens?
idea, a little crevice or rock garden that kind of like swerves on the southern side of the
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you have in mind for that.
I know. I have to draw it up. Then this front garden here, we got the herbal medicine garden planned out, but we haven't have it planted. We didn't plant very much in it. I really concentrated on this pollinator front yard garden and put a lot of effort into that, and then just had this little one off to the side that had some basil in it, but that was about it. So we could probably do some refining on that. And then the forest restoration, that's a huge one.
That's a 30-year project.
That's a lifetime project of.
But we could start, we have a lot of old fencing material, and we can reuse that too to make these little fence circles.
Which we started to do around.
Yeah, so we can protect some of the trees in the areas where there's no deer fence.
I think the thing about the forest restoration is that we can't feel too overloaded because you can, because it's so big and it's such a ginormous project. But when speaking with the foresters, kind of taking it year by year, just, an acre or two at a time, it starts to feel a bit more achievable. And you might not be able to do everything of all the forests that you have, but you could start somewhere. Maybe we get 10 or 20 acres.
Well, you just do it bit by bit. And what I like to do is I consider it a workout. I just go into the forest with the chainsaw and other tools, and I just work on cleaning it up. Like all the trees that are forest are marked, and all the trees that are dead and not useful to any other wildlife. Chop those down, put them down on the ground so that they can, degrade.
Create pits and mounds.
Yeah,
and
they can
humus,
make the soil better. And then maybe you come in, and that's a nice way to spend a couple hours in the forest.
And also
listen
we
to
like
a podcast or something.
Yeah.
And then what you can do is then you could come in after that, and you can start to selectively put trees in different places and then use that fence to protect them. Or if they're in the fenced area, they should be fine. But it might be good to protect them anyways, in case a deer comes in and, because who knows, that fence is going to be 100%.
Yeah.
So far it's been, but.
Lucky. We've been lucky. But when the snow goes away, we'll actually see how they react, especially when this is a lot of their fawning grounds. I was going to say, as far as the forest restoration goes, that one of the times that we like to work in the forest the most is in the heat of the summer.
Because it's nice and cool.
Yeah, it's nice and cool, and it's shady. And so when we might not want to be working in the yard area or lawn area where you're beating down with sun, that's the perfect time to actually do the forest. So I feel like we could do the forest in the corners of the day in the heat of the summer and actually get a lot done. So the last one I'd say is just general garden maintenance. So we started a ton of different gardens here, and keeping up with the gardens, keeping up with the tree circles. We did a ton of tree circles. We went through a ton of cardboard.
And mulch.
And mulch, yeah, doing these no-dig garden beds and huge mulch circles. I mean, we probably have a 1/4 acre under cardboard and mulch.
Yeah, well, this
Easily.
one's 14 feet in radius, so that's 28 in diameter.
Those are big too. Some of those are smaller, but some of those are big. And then we still have to do that one over there. We didn't finish that one, I think, maple. But, our tree circles are going to need
What's the
refreshing.
upkeep on that? You do that every year?
Yeah, do that once a year. And
You just put new cardboard down and then put more mulch
I don't even think you'll need to do new cardboard, because I think that cardboard is going to be good. You might just need to do a little mulch layer,
Yeah.
and then dig around the edges again if you see the
sharpen up the edges.
Yeah,
with the
sharpen the
grass.
edges. So I think if we stay on top of that, and you do that once a year, you're golden.
It's not terrible.
No, that's not terrible.
Plus,
And
you've planted some bulbs in that area too, or
Mm-hmm.
some kind of small plants.
Yeah, and actually that would be one thing that I would also want to do is some of that back area towards by the house where it's like a little under
And shade.
in shade. I think planting some hostas there or whatnot could be good. But that's a lot that we want to do for 2022. But I think like even for 2021, we didn't realize that we would do so much. But I feel like 2022 is going to be even like
Yeah. Well, you
bigger.
can always do more. You look at your projects, but I feel really confident with the amount of stuff that we get done.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this too is also all new to us. Like we've never done this before. Like all this
Yeah.
renovating, making kitchen cabinets, it's all new to me.
Yeah.
Like it takes some time to figure it out, but then once you figure it out, then it becomes real easy, and that starts to compound over time. So that now, before cutting down trees and using a chainsaw was hard because I'd never done it before. Now I know how to do that, and I'm confident in taking bigger trees down with my chainsaw. And it's just another thing. I don't think about it as much anymore. I got my tools. I know what happens when if the saw needs more oil, I know where to get it. I have it in stock. Like if there's another chain that I need to throw on there, I can do that. So I think we'll get better at these things over time.
Yeah, and also people, like the first year we didn't know a lot of folks.
Plus the people in the area.
Yeah, now I feel like we're getting like our A team together. Even Sean is coming up for helping us with like pressure test some of the water management, and Walt we met from the neighborhood, and he's introduced us to a number of people. So we couldn't really do renovation in the first year because it was like not where our headspace was, the supply chain issues, and we just didn't know other folks to kind of pressure test ideas with and like actually do this stuff with. So that makes a world of difference, because now we can have this domino effect with our renovation of like Meadow Home and barn and common house, because we have a team that we've assembled together as well. A lot to do. I think that it's very ambitious, but I think we could get a lot of that done.
Sounds
Let's
good.
go.
You're on the gardens. I'm gonna be on top of the building.
Yeah, construction renovation team, landscape gardening team.
Exactly.
Team of one.
And you see the whole team right here. That's not true. There's some people
true.
that help out.
Yeah.
And great people we get great advice from.
Yeah, indeed.
And
It's true.
great volunteers who sometimes show up to help
Yeah.
out on certain things that are just way too much work anyways.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. So that's
yeah.
it.
All right.